Needy everyone, Zabora here. So we are on lesson 18, I believe it's C of our divination lessons. We are going to be talking about Palmstry. Now I do apologize, I know this camera it just isn't as good as my phone camera, so it's going to be a little messy, but hopefully we can make it work. So I tend to read more of the Greek way, the Greek style of doing palmistry. There are many, many, many different schools of thought when it comes to palmistry because it was practiced by so many different cultures. You're going to even get conflicting information. Like I've been told the lifeline, if there's a break in it, then that person has died and been brought back to life. I don't personally believe that. When I see a break in like the lifeline, I believe it's because you have transitioned into a new style or a new life. So like if you're a closeted witch and then there's a break and then the line continues, then you have are now living your witchy life and not the closeted life. And then, like, if the lines actually kind of overlap, that's when you're at the point of transitioning out of that different old life into the new life for various reasons. It's not always for the better. You could have been open and then you had to become closeted, for an example. But that for me is just how I interpret it. Now, palmistry is also known as chiromancy, which is hand divination, pretty self-explanatory. But it's also called cryology when you read the hand to predict someone's future. Um, as I said, there are many different forms of schools of thought when it comes to palmistry, just because it was practiced by so many cultures. You can find indirect references in the book of Job, chapter 37, verse 7. You can find palmistry kind of preserved in the symbol of Hamza, which is a glottal stop in the Jewish writing. So a glottal stop is a break in a sound. So like if I say ma'at, when you hear that ma and then there's a little bit of a pause and then that ot, that's a glottal stop, okay? It's just part of the language. Now, palmistry is probably most famously known in Hindu cultures from India because the highest Hindu caste system of the Brahminis, they're the ones that actually perform palmistry. I don't agree with the caste system. It's basically just an excuse to feel all high and mighty and be a dick to people, in my personal opinion. I don't really give a shit about if you disagree or not. That's just it's my opinion, okay? Now, there were many cultures, as I said, that actually practice it. You can find references to it in China, in Tibet, in Nepal, in Babylonian people practice it, Palestinian people practice it, Sumerian people practice it, Persian people practice it. It actually made its way to China from India and into Nepal and Tibet and even Egypt. So there is some historical references to palmistry being practiced in Egypt. Now, traditionally, you would read the dominant hand first because I'm right-handed. That would be my right hand, and then you would move on to the left hand. Although some people do say that your right hand would be like the material world and the physical world, and then your left hand would be your spiritual side and stuff. I mean, it's just it depends on who teaches you and what you learn. Now, I personally would recommend this book, Palm Reading for Beginners by Richard Webster. I'm a huge Richard Webster fan. I've got several of his books. I think that his writing style is very easy. He explains things quite well. It's not like a huge scientific paper where you've got to know all the different terminology and stuff. I just prefer his writing style. Yes, it's a Llewellyn book. I'm fully aware of that. If you've got a different book that you want to recommend, great. In the back of this one here, if you actually go to the recommended reading part, he's got pages of recommended reading, okay? Pages of recommended reading when it comes to palmistry. So if it's something that really interests you, this is kind of where I would start. This is the book that I'm going to recommend. If you've got a different book recommendation, great. But don't sit there and tell me that I'm wrong when there's a billion different forms of palmistry out there, okay? Because you don't know what the fuck I practice. I tend to fall in line a little bit more with the Greek myth the Greek mode of thought when it comes to reading palms. As you can see here, I've actually got the individual fingers labeled. So you have Venus, which rules the thumb, Jupiter, which rules your pointer finger, Saturn is your middle finger, Apollo would be your ring finger, and Mercury would be your pinky finger. When I read a palm, the first set of phalange, the first part of your digits that actually have the nail bed on them, that's related to the spiritual side because you actually read the loops and whorls and stuff that are on your fingerprints. The middle set here would be your intelligence right here. And of course the material would be the last set closest to your palm that actually attaches to your hand. Now, there are different ways, as I said, to read this, so it really just depends on what system you pick up. I prefer the Greek method as taught by Richard Webster in Palm Reading for Beginners. That's what I'm going to recommend, okay? Now, I'm not going to go into things like, oh, your heart line means this, and your headline means this, and your fate line means this, just because there are so many different systems out there. I don't want to influence anyone about this is what it means, and this is only what it means, because it's just not true. I want you guys to go out there and explore and stuff. But if you want me to do a series on palm reading, I've got no problem doing that. I'll probably wait until um, after we finish up with our lessons to do that. We are very, very close to the end. But if you guys want me to do a whole freaking series on palm reading or tarot or whatever else on any method of divination, just let me know in the comments down below and I'll consider it, okay? So, I hope this has been enlightening. That is it for tonight, guys. Synapti.